Hey guys, Sax here. I just want to say a huge thank you to the outpouring of support on this week's podcast. We did 3 character deep dive breakdowns, one for Tam, one for Umeko, and one for Ningfei. Now, if you guys are familiar with the channel, you know that from the podcast, we like to break out smaller segments because some people get intimidated by an hour-long commitment, but instead they'll sit through a 20, 30-minute portion, even though it's a large majority of the podcast we did. So I just want to get ahead and make sure you guys know you've already heard this if you've listened to the entire thing. However, if you want to return to these videos and just get the knowledge about the specific characters, I'm going to have one for Tan, Umeko, and Ningfei. So just wanted to get that out there for you so no one feels like we're trying to do anything shady. Just want to have it as a resource on the channel. Okay, let's get into it.
Segueing to the next character, Umeko. This is who you should be building into if you're also building into Tan, because like I said before, she uses the exact same guns. With Total Lockdown's ability to just do higher damage and stun Rapid Shinkas with allocation vector, it's just the better weapon in general. And like I said before, if you need to pop void shields, Borealis is your best friend. But if you're trying to do maximum optimal DPS, Izanagi's the play. And the reason why I say that is that most characters, you shoot Izzy, you gotta wait for this whole timer to go. But what you can do with Umeko specifically is, so most of the time, you shoot the ×4 shot, you have to wait for it to reload, you can cancel at the last second. But what's nice with Umeko is you can shoot, dodge, and then reload, and it's faster. And that buff will last a couple seconds. So you can just poop out Izanagi shots. Now, as you'll notice, my total damage is only 1.6. And that's kind of, Umeko, in my opinion, is the best 4-star in the game, but she's still a 4-star. So her use is primarily utility. And the utility you would run is her super. Her super is the main reason you would run her, because what it does is think of it like Tether. You hit a boss with it and everybody else does more damage. So you super, then you shoot. See the difference? One shot and we're already dumping our entire Izanagi reserve. And that's because of a couple different perks. I don't even have C6 Umeko, even though I want her. I only have C5, and she's still, I would say at C4 is really, C4 or C6 are kind of the best break points. But honestly, C1 is still really good. You don't necessarily need C6 with her. It just helps you stay alive. But if you're trying to stay alive with Umeko, you're doing something you're not supposed to be, because unless it's contest specifically, you kind of don't want to be running Umeko unless you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, because there's other characters that are better. But if you do want to run her because she's fun, you can do something a little like this. So let me get my abilities, and we'll just do a damage comparison so we can compare it. So Tan with Izanagi alone and just sunsets was 5.7. With side reel was about 10 mil. So I messed up, but it's fine. And that's our last shot. So as you can see, we barely outdamaged Tan, and that was not a perfect DPS phase because I was sliding a lot more than I should. But as you can see, we got to 5.8 fairly easily, right? So a little bit more than Tan, even though we didn't do anything but just shoot Izanagi. And that's because that's kind of Umeko's main downside, is that she doesn't do any damage on her own. You are reliant on your teammates, and your invis kind of doesn't do anything unless you're trying to specifically kill one Shinka. Which it's nice for. But her idea is that you would use her in a boss damage type scenario. So currently the only place where she's quote unquote meta is Izakus. You always want one Umeko. But the whole goal is that makes this her super, I should say, kind of out of order with this. But what her super does is it debuffs the boss, and it lets everyone else, not just yourself, do 33% more damage. And then what you can do with her artifacts is that if you get, and my artifacts are messed up, I need to get better artifacts for Umeko. But if you get vulnerability bonus maxed, it extends the duration by 10%, in addition to increasing the strength by, I think the maximum is 33%. So 33% of 33%, you get another 11%. So instead of having a 33% Shadow Shuriken, you'd have a 44% Shadow Shuriken, which is really good. So currently, like I said, there's no place where she's necessarily meta, But if we ever got like a boss rush type scenario, or like we got a raid with multiple boss encounters, you would see one of her in every single encounter. So like even under contest Izakis, people are here. Let me pull up the leaderboards. Even under, regular Izakis or contest Izakis, you can pull it up and you can see how, some of these groups, multiple Umekos, one Umeko. So every group will have at least one. So that's what it's kind of cool about her. So even though she's a 4-star, she has a place with all the other 5-stars. And if you're building Tan already, you'll have the weapons for her, which is really nice. So it kind of saves a lot of materials.
Can you replicate what you did for Tan already, which was the Izakis, basically like the walk up, as if it's the Izakis like
Absolutely.
damage phase begin?
So
like talk it through just like you did the last one. I want to kind of see and visualize what you should be doing.
So
first, every step of the way.
Let me go through my artifacts. So
okay.
Artifacts are similar to Tan's. I'm not completely attached to Bellicose Planetesimal, purely because with her specifically, it's a little annoying to have to recast an ability every 6 seconds. So I'm thinking about swapping this, but I haven't found anything I like more. So for now, that'll stay. Calming Token, just like Tan, this is mandatory on precision characters. It's so free. All you have to do is sit still in the well. Ring of Conversion is just nice. It gives you an overshield when you go invis. And then Healing Planetesimal. Other people run Ring of Abundance. That one's fine too. Healing Planetesimal, I feel like, is better under contest because, keep in mind, we were locked to this one. So just basically anytime I threw a shuriken, it would heal me. And I felt like that was really nice. But let's go through. So same objective as Tan. You walk up, sit in the well, don't move unless you have to. Something a lot of people don't know is that if you don't press any directional keys, but you press the dodge button with Umeko, you will sit in place. And that's kind of what you want to do in order to not move in the well. So you walk up, Izakis is about to pop. As soon as he pops, you don't want to pre-pop the super. You want to pop it right as he becomes vulnerable, which is a little tricky. But the reason for that is that with the super itself, basically, when you super an enemy with Umeko, you will do your first hit. Whatever hit it does should be your biggest hit. So I shouldn't do this little dinky scout rifle hit, because what it does is it's going to like double or triple my scout rifle hit. So what you want to do with Umeko is you want to make your biggest hit the next thing you do after your super. And that's what Izanagi allows you to do. So it's really nice. So you would super Izanagi. Then I'm just going to go slow. So then what I would do is after I was done shooting Izanagi, I would dodge. That lets me reload my Izanagi faster. And then I would just dump Izanagi shots as fast as I can while that void step is still active, because that gives me the reload buff. Then I'd throw a shuriken to reproc Bellicose Planetesimal, get me another damage boost. The shuriken is not to extend the debuff. The debuff will last the whole damage phase. The shuriken is to proc Bellicose Planetesimal. If you're not rocking Bellicose Planetesimal, you don't need to throw that shuriken in there. I don't like throwing that shuriken in there. I'm trying to find something better, but this would be like one of my better rotations. So walk up to Izakis, super, sit in place, Izanagi, reload, Izanagi, reload, Izanagi, reload, dodge again, Izanagi, reload, Izanagi, reload. And that's generally, I'm out of ammo at this point, so I can do like 1x2 shot, throw some primary in there. So that's generally where my damage will end up, is like slightly below, slightly around an Izanagi tan. Keep in mind that, if people hit your super, sometimes they can get the damage instead of you. It's usually not the case, but I've seen it happen, especially if there's enough laggy people in. So your damage will hover somewhere around that 5.4, 5.8 mil mark, which is, once again, you're doing not the same, but close to Tan with Izanagi. So like you're doing the same damage as a 5-star with a 4-star. I feel like that's halfway decent.
How does the 5-star, 4-star conversation, does that directly affect the damage, or what is that?
No, NetEase just generally gives the 5-star characters bigger damage bonuses.
Okay.
They give them, better relics. They tend to have a lot more synergy, or they tend to have pairing of exotics that'll work a little bit better. Umeko kind of basically yoinks a bunch of stuff from Tan, and that's how you get away with doing as much as you do. And that's basically why she skirts by, in addition to her utility. If we get a 5-star that gives a bigger debuff, Umeko will be gone. Yeah. Right? But until that time, Umeko is meta. For boss damage specifically.
Interesting. So you're not really using in any kind of like, we're talking like break in or menace above, anything like that. You're not going to see Umeko in that, correct?
Unless they change menace above to use piercing Shinkas, in which case Umeko does have an idea because she is the second fastest character after Ning. You do zoom decently quick, especially at C1 where you get, the double dodge. But we're going to see, we have yet to have a piercing show up in Calamity Ops. And so that's why I'm only an expert 1, because I basically just I had people carry me into here while using Tan, because I'm basically just a bad rapid fire Shinka character with total lockdown.
Gotcha.
So once we get piercing Calamity Ops, that's when we'll really see, and you might genuinely see Umeko in Calamity Ops because of her speed. Now, keep in mind, she can't kill stuff as fast as Ning. So we'll see what happens. Other than that, you would generally use Tan 99% of the time. But Umeko's for those, 10%, 1% of the time you don't use Tan.
Gotcha.